Hey, Husker fans, Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra. Well, we've hit the month of May. That means spring football is over for Nebraska, and we're doing a little bit of a recap of each side of the ball. All three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. This is offense in the review that comes from here. So the Nebraska offense had a pretty good spring game. We watched it, right? They scored 21 points on that white team in the first half of that game. Jeff Sims was sort of the star of that day. Completed 6 of 8 passes, had a touchdown run. And how do we know that Jeff Sims is the number 1 quarterback? Well, the number 2 guy, Casey Thompson, transferred out very quickly. So he's left the program. So have 2 more quarterbacks in Logan Smothers and Richard Torres. That means Nebraska has 3 left. That means that Jeff Sims better stay healthy because the 2 guys behind him, Heinrich Harburg and Chubba Purdy, don't have a ton of experience. Sims is going to be the guy. Why? He's a pretty good runner, and I think he's a pretty accurate passer as well. Nebraska clearly has its leader at that position. Moving to the running back spot, A.J. Allen transferred out, and A.J. Allen's a pretty talented player who moved out, but he's gone. And not a huge surprise. He had a couple of fumbles in the spring game. The thing to watch at that position are the 3 guys at the top, that being Gabe Ervin, Anthony Grant, and Ramir Johnson. They all split carries with the top team during the game, and so it won't surprise me one bit if those 3 guys are kind of battling it out for various roles as we go into the summer, with Emmett Johnson and Quentin Ives arriving here in May. Late May, that's when most of the players will report. Grant, I thought, had maybe the best spring game of the bunch, but at the same time, Gabe Ervin had a good body of work during spring. We heard that from the coaches. On the offensive line, I think this is a hidden strength in the program, so long as they can stay healthy. Not a lot of defections at this point. I think they have a pretty good idea of who their top 7 are, that being Teddy Prohaska, and then Nuri Nwili, and then Ben Scott, Ethan Piper, Turner Corcoran, Bryce Benhart, and then, right, you know, the guys that are kind of coming back. That's 6 right there. And then I think they've got a pretty good idea that maybe that 7th guy, if they need somebody to play, would be the center, the young center, Justin Evans Jenkins. Did a pretty good job, I thought, in the spring game. And so maybe they need to add one more piece in the transfer portal, but I don't know if that's going to be necessarily forthcoming. Maybe one of those young freshmen, Gunnar Couture or somebody else, can step into that. Maybe Henry Lutovsky, who played a little bit last year. He's actually probably that 7th guy. I think they have a pretty good idea of what they want to do there, and I think the experience is good. A lot of influx at wide receiver and tight end. Okay, there's a lot of guys who left at wide receiver. Right now, they're very low on numbers. Marcus Washington and Billy Kemp are a clear 1-2. Then you've got Xavier Betts. Then you've got Isaiah Garcia Castaneda. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. They're bringing in 6 guys here at the end of May. One of those guys has to step up, probably 2 or 3 of them. At tight end, there's a lot of movement there. I think Nate Borkircher is your number 1 guy based on what we saw in spring, with Thomas Fedoni and Eric Gilbert still kind of moving along. Gilbert, he can move for 270 pounds, a very impressive athlete, but he had 2 drops in the spring game, and I think Fedoni is still coming along. Overall picture for the Nebraska offense, hey, I think they're developing. I think they know who their quarterback's going to be. They're not going to have a lot of question marks going into August. There won't be who's going to get these snaps and who's going to get these snaps. It's going to be Jeff Sims. I think they have a pretty good sense of what they want to do at running back. I think their offensive line is relatively set, and then they've got to get some guys stepping up at wide receiver and tight end. But the overall picture for Nebraska's offense, not half bad. Okay, that is our offensive review for the 2023 spring. I'm Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra.